My final point is on what next. Yeah, so we've signed the treaty. We are where we are today. The treaty has been signed, and there's no going back. I think whilst the treaty provides, new challenges for investment into India, it does offer potential opportunities as well. It's important to remember that the protocol only assigns taxing rights to India in respect of the sale of shares in an Indian company, so Indian company. So two things here, shares and Indian company. One, as I said, it's only gains arising from the sale of shares which would be taxable in India. So gains arising from any other instruments other than shares would still remain taxable in Mauritius. Here I'm talking about things like participation notes, futures, options, exchange-traded derivatives. All these instruments would remain taxable in Mauritius. And the beauty of those instruments is that it gives the investor the access to performance of the underlying assets in India whilst not having to own the shares directly. The second point is, even if the investor was to sell shares, it's not all shares that will be taxable in India. It's only shares in respect of an Indian company. So to the extent that the investor is selling shares in a Mauritian company which has underlying assets in India, any gains arising from the sale of the Mauritian share would still remain taxable in Mauritius, although the general anti-avoidance provision may apply. But to me, the biggest opportunity I would consider under the new protocol is around debt instruments, as I think Laura said earlier. And it's around compulsory convertible debentures or non-convertible debentures or foreign currency convertible bonds or external commercial borrowing. Not only the gains arising from these instruments would be taxable in Mauritius, but also the rate of withholding tax has been reduced to 7%. The lowest rate of any tax treaty that Mauritius has signed with, which India has signed with the different countries. And this provides Mauritius with a competitive advantage. Debt instruments, in particular, non-convertible debentures, are attractive for foreign investors because what can be effectively done is through redemption premium. This can give equity upsides to investors. There are no interest caps. Interest payouts can result in a better tax efficient in the underlying asset, while the non-convertible debentures can also be secured by way of pledge, by way of mortgage on security or property, or securitization of receivable. As you can see, there are many advantages of debt instruments. But some of you may be asking, why am I saying that this is the biggest opportunity? And I think to look at that, we need to look again at the pattern of FDI flows into India. The latest statistics that I think JP Morgan released recently showed that foreign institutional investors invested around $30 billion US in 2014-15 in India. And just under 60% of that related to debt instrument. So what we can see is that debt instrument has already surpassed equity instrument in terms of FDI flows into India. Banks in India have remained traditional. Bank credit has lost its attractiveness as a means to meet the funding requirements of Indian corporates. Statistics from the Clearing Corporation of India has shown that growth in the bank credit in India has really slowed, with a growth rate of 15% in 2013, reducing to about 9% in 2015. With the banks increasing risk awareness, what we're seeing is that the expansion of the capital markets has been leading to increasing reliance on non-bank credit. And the share of non-bank credit as a percentage of total has declined over the last decade. Statistics from the Reserve Bank of India, I think, has also showed that corporate bonds in India has increased by 76%. So 76% in increase in corporate bonds over the period 2010 to 2015. And this was further supported by the latest figures released by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, which shows that approximately 8 billion US dollars was raised by Indian corporates in terms of non-convertible debt on the foreign markets in the period from 2015-16. So there, about a 30% increase over the last year. So what we're saying is that Indian corporates are taking advantage of low interest rate in the international market, and with such interest rate differential likely to remain, I think the trend in terms of debt instrument is likely to continue. So I think that trend is likely to continue in the foreseeable future.